Alright, so for this next one here, we're going to do a pocket, a mill frame pocket. It's going to machine out all of this rectangular area here. It's very similar to the last one, except this time we're doing a pocket instead of a outside. And so before we start, we'll go ahead and save this and save as example number 4. And we'll go ahead and get our stock geometry set up. Alright, so now we've got that. We'll go ahead and get our tools set up. On this sheet, they call it a 11/16 center cutting end mill. It's a fairly uncommon end mill, so we'll go ahead and just use a 1/2 inch. Be a little bit easier to find and to make it work with our program. We'll go ahead and make it tool 61, and we'll go end mill. It's going to be 1/2 inch, and just populate your speeds and feeds. And we'll go ahead and turn the coolant on. Alright, so now that we got that, we'll go ahead and get to our programming. So this mill frame here is from the last program we did. We'll go ahead and just tweak it and make it for this current one. So go ahead and specify, we use the bottom left-hand corner as our start point. It's just easier to do it that way, but you can do it from any corner, like we talked about in the last example. Just make sure you change your length accordingly. So go ahead and fill out our X length and Y length. This time our depth is 0.38, and our corner radius is 0.38 as well. The start side doesn't really matter too much because we're going to pocket out the whole thing anyway. So for our roughing here, we're going to go ahead and switch this to tool 61. And our milling type from last time was outside, but this time we're actually going to do a pocket boundary. Remember, if we just did an inside, we'd leave a whole boss inside of here. So we're going to do pocket boundary, and what that's going to do is going to plunge in the center and spiral outward. And everything else looks good, so we'll go ahead and draw it. So you can see there it pockets it all out. And that should be it for this example. We'll go ahead and do one thing that we haven't done yet, and we will add a finishing pass. And so right now it's roughing, and so we have these pecks, and it's going to peck down. And as it pecks down, it's going to leave a little line every time it pecks. So when your part's finished, you're actually going to have a very bad surface finish on these inside walls. So if we want to have a really nice surface finish, we can go to this finishing tab and just add our tool in again, and it will do all of the rest of the part in a single pass. It'll still spiral out, and it'll do all the walls to depth. We can actually change how much we leave for that finishing pass. If we go to the program parameters and go to the milling 1, we have a finish XY and a finish Z. So these values we can change however we want. Typically you don't want it super small, like a thou or 2 thou is usually okay. If you only leave like a tenth or 2, sometimes you can have rubbing issues. It really just depends on the type of material you're working with and the tolerances you're trying to hold. But for right now, we can just leave it at 5 thou for both, and that should be fine. If you leave too much material, you'll have deflection and other issues that will degrade either your finish or your tolerances. If you leave too much on there, you will not have a very good oftentimes the tool will deflect and you won't have a straight wall that will be the exact same size all the way down. And if you're trying to hold tight tolerances, that will be an issue. So always make sure you leave an appropriate amount on this finish and they'll automatically calculate that all just in that one block, as long as you add a finishing pass. And go ahead and put a plunge feed in here. So now if we draw it again, I added an extra little pass in there, and we should be done. So we'll go ahead and save this out, and that's the last of that example.